When someone needs emergency medical attention in the U.S., help is just a phone call away. But in remote regions in Uganda, there's no such thing as 911. Our media team had the opportunity to sit down with Loved One team member Lauren Akins about the mission of their organization. Because at Loved One, they want people to know treatment is available, no matter how sick their child and how hopeless the situation may seem.
Loved One came to be because the founder, Suzanne Marinick, was actually bringing home one of her children from Uganda. She was adopting Josie Love. She was all over the country, meeting different doctors, figuring out how best to treat Josie because she had a number of medical conditions going on. As she was sitting in these doctors' offices in Uganda, seeing how there are so many more children just like Josie in Uganda who don't have access to good medical care in Uganda. And when Suzanne came back home, she said that she couldn't help but just lay awake at night and think about all of the moms in Uganda who had children wondering if their child was going to make it or not. And so Suzanne founded Loved One International. Through working with Suzanne and serving alongside her, I actually met my oldest daughter. Her name is Willa Gray. And in Willa Gray being a huge part of my heart, so are the children of Uganda.
Do you think that you could tell us the story of the first time that you picked up Willa Gray and saw her?
I met Willa Gray when she was 5 months old. I will never forget, she was laying on a floor. There was red dirt everywhere. I will never forget when Suzanne picked her up. Suzanne's turning to look at me and be like, how cute is this little girl? And Willa Gray is looking at me, and Willa Gray immediately burst into tears. I couldn't help just be completely magnetized to her. And when I called my husband that night, he was asking about my day, and I was telling him about her, and I was just like, this little girl is so special, and she has just completely taken my heart. But it was like my soul just instantly wanted to be right next to hers. And I'm going to try to say it without getting emotional. But there's so many moments you see children over there, and especially as a mother, I think, oh God, what if this was my child? Because it's so heartbreaking just to see them in the physical condition that they're in. And just the other day when we were there was a sweet little baby in the hospital, and she was in so much pain. And just knowing that, 911 isn't a thing in Uganda. I think the hardest point for me is seeing what feels like worst case scenarios and knowing that it's not, because they're in Loved One's care, they're in a hospital. You see the hope that Loved One is bringing to these families. I mean, this is so timely that we're doing this interview 2 days after I came back, because it was all so fresh, and I'm literally seeing in my mind the faces of the children that I just held. The hope that you feel, the peace that you feel in all of that, you cannot explain it with words. And at the end of the day, it is only Jesus who can bring that hope. It just fuels me to keep going and keep talking about it and sharing Loved One's mission as best I can. Our mission is Loved One exists to transform the lives of children and families in Uganda through life-saving medical care and preserving families, and through sharing the love of Jesus. Our primary focus at Loved One is to take care of children who are malnourished. We take care of the medical needs. We do a lot of education and outreach. Our nutritionists on staff actually go out and they do this whole program where they are educating the people of the community on how to keep your baby healthy, food groups that they need to have, about how much that they need to have in order to prevent children from getting super malnourished. And really what we started doing from the beginning was finding children who are malnourished and bringing them in, and oftentimes they have to go straight to the hospital because they're so sick they're not able to even ingest foods like we can. And then when they're able to start eating food on their own again, then they're brought into our Loved One Center. So a verse that we point to a lot is Matthew 25:40, where Jesus says, whatever you have done to the least of these brothers and sisters, you have done unto me. That verse really encompasses so much of Loved One, because when we're bringing these kids in, we are helping to take care of their bodies temporarily, but ultimately our goal is to share the love of Jesus with them. So at the end of the day, what we really try to do is, yes, take care of their physical bodies, but ultimately we're trying to take care of their souls and tell them about Jesus. Our organization needs people to be praying for us. We can't have enough people praying for Loved One and our mission and the children and families that we serve. So just spreading the word about Loved One is a huge way that people can help, because you never know who's going to hear about it and go, that's the organization I've been waiting for.
Thanks so much for being with us today and sharing your story.
It's been a lot of fun, and I'm honored that y'all chose Loved One to be a part of what you're doing. So thank you.